This is Seasons of Discontent with your hosts Rick Snyder and Matt Combs on the Hogstein Network.
Welcome to Seasons of Discontent, Season 7, Episode 11. Yeah, 7-11. Brought to you by Rick Snyder's Washington on YouTube, and I'm Rick Snyder.
I'm Matt.
And we're back discussing all things Washington life and sports as part of the mighty Hogstein Network on audio and here YouTube on video. All right, so I think Matt's a little unhappy with how it went yesterday. With he and his two sidekicks there. That's not us, is it?
No, that's not us.
Okay. But the Washington Commanders lost to the Detroit Lions. And not only lost, they got crushed, to be honest. 9 points, but could have been a million. It was an embarrassing one. People said, "Is this the worst half you ever saw?" I was like, "Oh no, I've seen much worse than this. Too many times to remember them all." But man, when you're getting kicked to the curb by the Lions, and today the Lions put up a meme with Washington's W on a Michigan coffee cup. I mean, when the Lions are punking you, you're down the bottom.
Hence my friends with me. We lost to the Lions. It's not because, look, I mean, they're only 1-1. It was game 2, but still, you lost to the Lions. The Lions haven't been to the playoffs in 25 years. It feels like.
Yeah, and they're playing the Bears in a few weeks, so they could be losing to the Lions, Bears. If they played the Tigers, they'd probably lose them too.
Yeah, just call it Dorothy.
So the big word is Jack Del Rio going to get fired?
Yes.
And I would say he's on the clock. But, it's not a minute to midnight kind of thing. I don't know. It's going to be real interesting. I thought a little bit about this today. In a way, Rivera is getting the same kind of ride that Norv Turner got. Because the franchise, Norv wasn't doing that well. And then the Cook dies. The franchise has been in limbo for several years. And so they just keep Norv, the board of all. Well, Dan Snyder hadn't seemed to have been around. And he's got bigger problems. So maybe Rivera and staff are skating by a little longer. I mean, it's only their third year. Snyder's last two coaches lasted longer. In the early days, they wouldn't have made it this far. But I wonder if he keeps going just because Danny's got all the problems.
I could see that with Ron for sure, because as we've talked about in the past look, Ron brings the adults into the room. This is a franchise that was in such disarray between the name and the scandals and everything like that. They had to make changes where they were needed. They had to bring adults in to run this organization, and that's what they've done. I mean, Ron has ultimate power. He's brought in Jason Wright to run the office. They've got the Martys running the player stuff. Changes to the coaching staff, though, I mean, that shouldn't affect, the way this team is run. But coming off of the new name and coming off of the scandals and everything like that, you're trying to reshape your image. You need to win. And that's the problem. They beat Jacksonville in week 1, but this goes beyond that. This goes back into last year as well. Del Rio's defenses, I mean, I can't remember his first name, Forrest, the safety. He came out and said basically it was scheme. I mean, the Lions knew what they were doing before they did it. It's scheme. Everybody has figured out Jack Del Rio's scheme and what they're going to do. It's time for a change. It's time for a younger voice in that locker room to motivate these guys. These guys aren't connecting with Del Rio. I don't know, and I'm not going to say it has anything to do with his tweets and all of his January 6th bull crap that he pulled, but it has something. He's not connecting with his players like he did that first year. Rick, they were a top 5 defense the first year he was here. Since then, they can't stop my grandmother, and she's been dead since 98. You know what I mean?
So who is the best defensive player on this team right now?
John Allen.
Okay, you can say that. I'll disagree. Who's your next one?
Probably the safety, Forrest.
Yep, there's the one. The guy come out of nowhere making the least amount of money is the guy who's probably playing the best. I mean, Allen didn't have a very good game yesterday just because I think physically he should have sat out, but he's too tough to do that. But he only quarterback hit one pressure. I mean, he had the least impact
Yeah, and
of any.
realistically, the best player yesterday was Deron Payne on the defensive line, and that's a defensive line full of freaking first round draft picks. You
Right.
know, one of them's still in the pup. Payne's looking for a deal, so of course he's going to play well this year. Allen got his money, but he's your de facto leader, I would say. And then Montez Sweat has been silent. I don't get the hype around Montez Sweat. Sure, maybe he's being double covered or something like that, but to spend 4 first round draft picks on these guys, and especially with Sweat, where you had to move back into the first round to get him, there should be more of an impact. You look at like Green Bay last night. Preston Smith's out there wreaking havoc on Justin Fields. That's a guy we drafted and let go.
Yeah. So if you got plenty of talent, then the only answer is you're not getting the coaching.
Correct.
And I say that Del Rio has always disappointed me these 3 years. And this, I look at him now talking to the media and all, he seems checked out. I mean, ever since that January 6th tweet, he seems really disengaged with a lot of this. Sort of like, be here, but you can't make me want to. And they'll say opposite things, but I know how to read people. And I read a guy mentally checked out.
Let me run this by you too, because this is something that a buddy of mine said on Twitter yesterday. Do you think Del Rio is trying to get fired because of what happened with that whole January 6th thing where Ron suspended him and all that stuff? He's just like, you know what? F it. I'm done. I'm not working for this guy anymore.
I don't think so. I mean, listen, he got fined a lot of money and it was a political thing, but no, I don't think so, because, you're always looking for the next job too.
But is he? I mean, he's in his 50s, probably 60s, isn't he?
Yeah, I had to look up his age, but he's around 60s. But he just, you don't want to burn your reputation. He's burning it here. But then again, anyone whose reputation gets burned in Washington kind of gets a free pass. So like the COVID years, you just go, it's COVID year, we're going to throw that one out. So maybe he just doesn't I don't see the passion with these guys like Rivera and Del Rio. I get a little bit of it with Rivera because, he's dealt with such a major life crisis. And maybe Jack just doesn't care anymore. But these are the guys who would eat glass at one time and just threaten to cut off your head and, all that. And it's not there. They're like, well, we'll watch the film.
So I got 2 points to kind of back up this. One is we've talked about Rivera and Del Rio both played linebacker in this league, and they have bad linebacker play. Let's be honest. 2, Del Rio calls out Jamin Davis in the week prior to the Lions game. Jamin Davis is playing out of position that he never played in college. They reached to grab him where they took him, and everybody knew that. So why does this fall on the player? This falls on scheme, and it's not just him. Look at William Jackson III. You bring him over from the Bengals, give him a lot of money, and you tell him, oh, well, he's a man corner, but you're telling him to play zone. So why did you go out and get that guy if you're not going to run a defense that is strong for his talents? Why are you going to go out there and give him a bunch of money and then make everybody mad at him like he's a bump? It's your fault. It's Del Rio's fault. This defense, the linebacker thing, they looked okay last week. And of course, Davis had a sack on the first play. That was a big FU to Del Rio. And then after that, he did really nothing. But that's a guy you're asking to play out of position, and you overdrafted him.
Yeah, and this team is not playing poorly defensively because of Jamin Davis.
No.
Really. It's because their 2 corners have looked bad, and their front 4 can't get home.
Exactly. And against a Lions offensive line that was missing 3 starters, 3 interior linemen, and you couldn't get home except for a linebacker on the first play. And then on the other side, you see what the number 2 overall pick, Aiden Hutchinson's doing, wreaking havoc on Carson Wentz for 3 sacks. I want to talk about Wentz real quick. This loss and the bad play, you can't blame Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz has been a success in Washington so far. This offense is entertaining. This offense is fun to watch, and this offense can score points. And he's throwing, there's only one person on this team, aside from Gibby, I'm talking about receivers, that is not a wide receiver that has caught a touchdown, and that's Logan Thomas. All the other touchdowns, and he's thrown 7 of them, Rick, in 2 games. He's at the top of the NFL, tied for first with touchdowns. Every pass touchdown has either been to a wide receiver, one to Logan Thomas, and I believe Gibson has a catching touchdown as well.
Yeah. They since they kept stats in 1950, he's the first guy to go to a new team and throw for 3 touchdowns and 300 yards in his first 2 games each. That's pretty wild when you think about that.
Yeah.
But they got 99 problems, and he's not one of them.
No. And that was the big thing everybody wanted to talk about. Carson Wentz, 3rd team in 3 years. Hey, guess what? He got kicked out of Indianapolis. They got shut out by the Jaguars yesterday, 24-0, and Matt Ryan looked about as good as you do at quarterback.
Yeah. Oh, not bad. But,
in your younger years, I'm talking about now.
Yeah, now I got bursitis, so, But I agree with that. I mean, Carson's done everything you could ask. I think I counted at least 6 times yesterday. I thought, I wish they'd had Brian Robinson on that play, because the 2 running backs did nothing. Now, they didn't have many chances, but one of them averaged 3 a carry and the other 2 a carry. Yeah. All right. Gibson's not going to get you anything running straight ahead. And I thought at least 6 times, I wish Brian was on that. When they're on the 1 yard line, goal, clock's running, they get stuffed twice. Man, that's a killer there.
Well, and that was the thing going into the season was Robinson was supposed to be, this is the Giants back in the day. This is Thunder and Lightning. This is Tiki and Ron Dane. This is Brian Robinson is going to pound it up the middle. Gibson or McKissick, who can both do this, are going to be your catching, speeding guy out of the backfield. That was what this offense was set up to be. And unfortunately, with the loss of Robinson, Gibson had to be thrust back into the first role or the starting role as your running back, but he's not a between the tackles guy. We've seen that over the past couple seasons. He was supposed to, and when we saw it against Jacksonville, what he is supposed to be. He's supposed to be catching swing passes out of the backfield that can take it to the house. He's supposed to line up as a wide receiver and catch balls. He's gonna be your guy that can bounce outside. He's not a between the tackles running back. That's why they drafted Robinson, and we lost that for the first 4 games at least because of Brian's unfortunate circumstances.
Of course, when it rains, it pours, and special teams was awful.
Yep,
the coverage was okay, but the returns, bad decisions, bad field position. And Ron was sort of like, well, it doesn't bother me too much. It doesn't bother you too much. You're inside the 20 twice. On that, Milne looked hard, made bad decisions. I don't know. They got to work on that. And then Joey Slye just is a ball buster when he misses that extra point. Oh my God, that was a.
But
bad
I won't
one.
even put all that on Joey. Why are you going for 2? Why are you going for 2 when you went for 2 and then missed it? Why? Forget your analytics. You ain't Billy Bean.
Yeah, when Rivera did blame analytics, I thought, oh, you love analytics as much as I do. So you're really grasping for an excuse when you use that. Now, maybe the number was there. Really would have been better to kick 1 first and then go for 2nd.
Exactly.
But except you could go for 2 first and then have to go for 2 again. I mean, there's some logic to it, and of course it didn't work. And then Joey misses that extra point. That's 2 of them now, right? 2 games?
Yeah.
That's not good.
When you want to talk about rain, it pours. Chase Roulier is probably done for the season with a knee injury, the other knee, not the one he injured last year. Schweitzer's still on the mend. I know that they did end up getting a defensive lineman today off of waivers who was actually rated pretty highly. I'm surprised the Cowboys let him go, but they had to get Rush on the Cooper Rush on their squad since Dak is not being put on IR. But this team is banged up and bruised, and we're only in week 3.
Yeah, they signed John Ridgeway.
Yeah, Ridgeway.
I used to work for a guy named John Ridgeway, but I called him today. I said, I'll see you at the park tomorrow. But he was rated right behind
Mathis.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they did pluck one up. Will he make a difference in the year? Probably not, but it's still grab a player when you can. I'm all for that.
Yeah, and you're taking him away from the Cowboys. Ain't nothing wrong with
that. That's always fun, too. Yeah. All right, I'm all ready. So I'm Rick Snyder.
I'm Matt.
We'll be back on Thursday.
All right.
Thanks for listening to Seasons of Discontent on the Hogstye Network.